Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel, Bethany Brings Books. So I am actually getting ready to go to church, but before I go to church, I wanted to film a video doing the mid-year book freakout tag. I've seen everybody doing this and I'm really excited to join in. It's such a fun tag and I always enjoy watching them. I've enjoyed it since I started watching BookTube several years ago. So I'm really excited to get to join in and do my own version of it. So, well, not necessarily my own version. I'm doing the prompts, but, you know, to do my own edition. So I have my notebook here and I'm going to try to make this pretty quick because I do have to go to church in just a little bit, but anyway. So the first question on this tag is your favorite book of 2022. And so immediately what comes to mind, like my favorite book that I've read so far this year would be Written on the Wind by Elizabeth Camden. I talked about this in my May wrap-up. I read this in May and I gave it 5 stars. I really loved it. We are following a count who has been condemned from his he's a Russian count and he's been condemned to a penal colony because of some of his actions. He refused to cover up some things that the Russian government did, and this is set in the early 1900s. And we follow him and a young lady named Natalie, who is from the Blackstone family, who is very wealthy, like one of the leading families in the banking industry in the early 1900s. And she has been overseeing the funding of the Trans-Siberian Railway, and through that she's been communicating with Count Sokolov because he is kind of following the progress of the Trans-Siberian Railway as it's being built. He's been following along and being stationed out in the wilderness along the route just to kind of oversee it. And so when she suddenly quits hearing from him, they've been communicating via telegram, and she suddenly quits hearing from him and she becomes interested in wondering what's going on. And so anyway, on his way to the penal colony, he manages to escape and make his way to America, where he comes into contact with Natalie. And we just kind of follow their journey as he is trying to seek justice for the circumstances that he saw, and like the cruelty that he saw some of the soldiers he was with, some of the things they committed. And so it's just following that story, but I loved it so much. I loved the Russian history, the culture, just learning about Russian history and culture. Count Sokolov was the most fascinating character, very interesting, and had a lot of little nuances and just intriguing. And there's just so much historical elements to this that I enjoy. And you know, Elizabeth Camden includes them in all of her books and I enjoy them so much, and so it's gonna be hard to top this one for me this year. I don't know if I will, but this is immediately what comes to mind as far as Christian fiction. Now I would say going down a different category, like towards more classic, the Anne of Green Gables series. I've been reading that this year. I've finished the first 3 books and I love it so much. I've loved Anne for years. Just the show, the old 80s show that Sullivan Entertainment did. And I've read like abridged versions, but reading these original versions, Ellen Montgomery, her writing is just superb. I mean, she just takes you to the island, to PEI, and it is so beautiful. Just her imagery and her prose, and she has the funniest characters and they make you laugh out loud, and her books are so full of hope and joy, and even in the sad moments you see the beauty and just the aspects of life that just carry you. I don't know. It's just, I love it. I love that. So that would be a close tie, probably. Probably a tie. Best sequel, again, I would have to say Written on the Wind. I read the first one earlier this year, and Carved in Stone. I really enjoyed that one, but this one I enjoyed even more. Carved in Stone followed Natalie, the main female character in this book. It followed her aunt, and it was very interesting. I enjoyed it. Her aunt is a widow who lives on a college campus. Her family has helped like fund the college or something to do with the college. I can't remember for sure. Anyway, and she's a widow. She lives on the campus. She kind of teaches at times, does some teaching, and she's very into like horticulture. And she comes in contact with this lawyer who is Irish, and he is from, in that time period, Irish, like the Irish in New York City were looked down upon and discriminated against. And so she comes into contact with him, and they kind of begin working together in some different situations, and he helps her, through all of it. She's trying to find out about her brother who went missing when he was 2 years old. He was kidnapped from like the family home backyard or something, and they never found out what happened to him. And so this lawyer comes along, and he begins to help her investigate the story. And it's just really interesting. That one was really good as well, and the second one here was even better. I just enjoyed both of them so much. Number 3, a new release that you haven't read yet and you want to read. So I would have to say for this, I actually have both of these books. One would be Midnight's Budding Morrow. This is by Carolyn Miller. I also have the first book. This is the second in this Regency Wallflower series. I have the first book, and I've got to read it before I can read this one. So I'm hoping to pick the first one up probably in the next few days, and then I'm really excited about reading that one. And this one I'm really looking forward to because it involves a marriage of convenience. And it says, Sarah Drayton is eager to spend a holiday at her best friend's crumbling castle estate. Rather than easy companionship with her dear friend, she finds herself being inveigled into a marriage of convenience with her friend's rakish brother. When James Langley returns to his family's estate, war is raging, and he wants only distraction, not serious tethers. But his roguish ways have backed him into a corner, and he has little choice but to obey his father's shocking decree: marry before returning to war, or else. Suddenly, he finds himself wedded to a clever and capable woman he barely knows. Sarah craves love and a place to belong, neither of which James offered before returning to the battlefront. Now everyone around her thinks she married above her station, and they have no intention of rewarding her for such impertinence. Only when her husband returns from war does she begin to hope they may find real happiness. When tragedy strikes, this unlikely pair must learn to trust God and cling to the belief that even in the darkest depths of night, the morning still holds hope. So Carolyn Miller, I discovered her last year. I really enjoy her writing. She writes mostly Regency. She has a little bit of contemporary, but her Regency stuff I really enjoyed. She writes very, I feel like, very true to the time period, very Jane Austen-esque. If you're looking for someone who reminds you of Jane Austen, I would say her writing style is very much like just the dialogue and everything feels very true to that time period, and I've really enjoyed her other books, so I'm looking forward to this one. And the cover is like so gorgeous. And also the author's from Australia, so that's pretty cool. I think she's the only Australian author that I know of that I've read. And then Turn to Me by Becky Wade. This whole series is what I'm hoping to read pretty soon, or I'm really looking forward to reading. This one just came out. I've heard so many good things about this book. I have heard so many good things about all three books, especially the second and third, and I have all three, and I'm really wanting to read them, hopefully soon. But I've read Becky Wade. I read her Bradford Sisters romance series. I really enjoyed that. She is a really good writer. I love her faith content and just how she just brings in some deeper themes into her stories, and I'm really looking forward to these. Most anticipated release of the second half of the year, I would have to say there's a lot, but just two that I can think of would be Harvest Moon by Denise Hunter. This is the third book in her Riverbend Gap series, I think is what it's called. I'm really looking forward to that one. It's about the third sibling in this family, the family that we follow in this series. I think his name is Garrett, I think is his name. And we meet him in the first book. He's actually dating the main female character at the time, but then they kind of part ways, realizing, you know, she falls for his brother actually, and so he kind of realizes that they're not meant for each other. And he's actually divorced. Him and his wife divorced after their child passed away. And so in this book, they are thrown back together after somehow, I'm not sure, but somehow they have to take care of I think a friend of their family's child, maybe something like that. They're like given this child that they have to take care of together, and so they're thrown back together, and their marriage is rekindled. I mean, that's kind of obvious from the book, it sounds like. So I'm excited to read that one. I'm looking forward to that one. And then the Blackout Book Club by Amy Green. Now, I don't have my iPad right here, so I can't really say what it's about. I just know it's set in like the World War II time period, I believe, and it's something to do with like a library book club, something along those lines, during World War II. And I'm not really sure, but it looks really good, and it sounded really good, really fun. The cover is so pretty, and I'm really looking forward to that one. That one comes out in November, and then Harvest Moon comes out in September. My biggest disappointment, I would say probably Drawing Fire by Janice Cantor. I read that last month, and going into it, you know, reading the first chapter, I got really excited because I thought it was going to be kind of similar to Terry Blackstock, like something along her writing style. But it really wasn't what I was thinking it was going to be. I did enjoy it, and I want to finish the series, but I didn't love it, and it didn't just really grab me and pull me in. I'm not going to really go over that a lot because I did talk about it in my last in my May reading wrap up, but it's about a detective who is trying to figure out what happened to her parents when she was a child. They were killed and their restaurant burned down, and so we just kind of follow that story. And it just really there was not the suspense element that I thought there would be there, and it just didn't really grab me. So I was really disappointed because I was very excited that I was going to have a new author that was along the lines of Terry Blackstock, because I am very picky about my suspense, and she's like one of the main authors that I will read in suspense. And anyway, that was kind of a disappointment. Biggest surprise, this one was a little bit hard. I would say probably Father Tim Boom, God's Man by Corey Ten Boom. I've had that book for quite a while. I picked it up somewhere at a thrift store, and I've had it a while, and I've enjoyed the other books that I read by Corey Ten Boom, and I knew that I would enjoy it, but I didn't realize how much I would like it. I mean, I gave it 5 stars. It was so good. I really enjoyed reading about, she just brought in the story of her father and her grandparents, those that she had descended from. She kind of brought in some of their stories and how 100 years before she even was able to work and help the Jews in Nazi, is it Holland where she was at? Or I can't remember exactly where she was at, maybe Holland. But anyway, before she was able to help Jews, her grandparents, her ancestors were already beginning to set up like society. They were like involved in different, I don't want to say society, but something kind of like that, to like pray for the Jews. And they already had a heart for the Jews and to help the Jews. And just seeing the faith of her grandfather and her father and the wisdom of her father and just their little family and the atmosphere that they had in their family, it really touched my heart and encouraged me. And I really enjoyed it so much. It was a really good read, and I would definitely recommend it if you can find it. It's a little bit, I think it's a little hard to find. When I looked it up, I didn't really see it like super easy to come by. You could find it somewhere, I'm not sure, but I really did enjoy it. And just the family history and all the wisdom there in that family. I enjoyed learning about it. Favorite new author, I would say, and let me see, where's the book? Favorite new author, I would have to say Jenny Goutet. I'm not sure how you say her name. This is the first book in her Clavering Chronicles, A Fall from Grace. And she is, I would say, I don't think she writes Christian fiction, but it's clean fiction. This book was extremely clean, cleaner than some Christian fiction I've read. Very sweet, and she again is another author who I would say is very Jane Austen-esque. She writes Regency romance, and they are very true to the time period, the setting, the dialogue, just the whole writing style. And they're not super thick. It's not like a super thick book. And I'm so glad I discovered her, because I really enjoyed this, and I enjoy her writing style. It's sweet and just entertaining and very, I don't know, I just really like it. This one is about a young lady who, she draws you in, like she paints a picture of just the atmosphere. This one I read in January, and so it was like in the winter time. And this story is set like right after New Year, and just it opens up like in a hunting lodge, and the main character is like in front of a fire in his hunting lodge, and it was January and it was cold when I was reading it, and so I was like, okay, this is giving me what all the feels, as like they say. It was just so cozy, and she just really draws you into the atmosphere, into like the story, and paints like the atmosphere, and really she does that really well without being like wordy. So this one was about a young lady named Selena Lockhart who she goes to stay as a lady's maid with an older lady, and her new neighbor, Sir Lucius, seems to treat her like with disdain, because he thinks that she's just out to get him, because he's had like so many women after his fortune. And anyway, when she goes to stay with her lady's maid, her carriage breaks down, and so she has to go to his lodge, and he thinks like, oh, it's someone coming to harass him, a lady. Anyway, come to find out, she legitimately is going to stay with his neighbor, an older lady who needs a lady's maid to stay with her. And so Selena is actually from like high society, but her father, he like gambled away their fortune and then passed away, and so now she's having to go like find some means of income. And so when she goes to stay with this lady, it kind of just follows like her story. And in the meantime, one of this lady's relatives comes to stay, and she's kind of having to also not only be lady's maid, but also like a guardian, or not a guardian, but I can't think of the word, a companion, I guess. I don't know. She's kind of having to oversee this young lady too, and the young lady is very is a little bit like wild, and so she's having to handle all of these situations. And anyway, favorite new author, Jeannie Goutet. I have the second book in the series that I am hoping to read very soon. The next two are newest favorite fictional crush and newest favorite character. And I don't really do fictional crushes. There are characters that I might think are really sweet and who I really like the character and I think about a lot, like just thinking about like the character, how they're a fun character and they're sweet and how they're written well. So I don't really do crushes. I would say if I had a favorite new character, probably Count Sokolov from Written on the Wind. His character is very unique, very nuanced. He is a count, and so like he's used to the finer things in life, and he enjoys getting his manicure, and he's also Russian, so he enjoys Russian literature, and he's like the whole death is honor type of thing, and very moody, very just his high and low and passionate, but also he trekked across the Russian wilderness and was able to survive, and he is very giving and compassionate and all about helping those people that he saw done wrong in Russia. And so it's a really unique character, very well written, and it's interesting just to see the difference in his character and his, what would I say, just the elements that make him, I don't know, just a little bit different than us, I guess, culturally, than American, the elements that make him a little bit different, I guess, than an American male character. He's just, you just see like the different aspects to his character because of his culture, I guess, if that makes sense. Just different than an American male character of that time period. He just seems, I don't know how to say it. It's just very interesting. Another one I would say would be from book 3 of the Anne of Green Gables series is Aunt Jimsy, or Jamesina, I think is her name. And while Anne is away at college, she begins to, her and several other girls rent a little cottage, and one of the girls' aunt comes to stay with them. And she's just a fun character to me. She brings her cats along, and she's a side character, but she just adds a lot of fun to the story, and just some of her dialogue, and just watching her with her little, how she stays with the girls, and she loves her little cats, and she's witty, and she keeps the girls company and keeps them in track and stuff, or on track. And she was just a fun character, and I enjoyed her in the book. I was sad to see, like, when the end came and Anne moved back to Prince Edward Island, and then Aunt Jimsy was going to have to move away. And so, anyway, she was a fun character. Book that made me cry. So, I tear up a good bit in books, especially books that I can glean something from that relates to my experience and some of the things that I've gone through. But I don't often really remember, like, I tear up a good bit, but it would have to be really impactful for me to remember that I cried in it. There's a few books that I do remember, but for this year, I can't really remember for sure. I feel certain that I probably did in Anne of Green Gables, so that's the one I'm going to go with. I'm pretty sure I cried like when Matthew died, and that whole part of the story. And I know there's others that I've probably teared up in this year, but I just don't remember. And the book that made me happy would have been The Secret Garden. This book, I loved it. I have known this story too. I've read abridged versions and I've watched the movie, but just reading this unabridged version, it made me so happy. I love plants. If you can't tell from my videos, I have a plant obsession. I love gardening, outdoors, nature. It's just, I love just, I don't know, just, it helps my mood and it elevates me, and it just helps me contemplate like the goodness of God and how amazing his creation is. And so this book, just reading about how Frances Hodgson Burnett, how she wrote about this garden, and how the little Mary and Dickon and the other little boy, what was his name? Colin, how they bring this garden back to life, and just reading how they tend to it and their care for the garden, and just her descriptions of nature and the garden and the elements and the growth and all the natural things that we see in it. They make me so happy. This is like the perfect spring read. I think this would be the perfect book to read every year when when you're in that like February. I get this about February. I just get this, it's like gloomy and depressing, and it's just, I guess, seasonal depression, your mood is just down because of just the general, you're ready for spring and you're ready for some brightness in life and nature. And I think this would be like the perfect book to read every year around that time of year, like in February, when you're looking for some color in life and some beautiful natural elements again. Most beautiful book, I would just have to say right offhand, probably this Beauty and the Beast book that I just bought at Barnes & Noble. This is the back. I talked about this in my last, in a couple videos ago, and I showed it to y'all. This is the inside, and it has a ribbon, and it's just gorgeous, like so gorgeous. I think this is probably one of the most beautiful books that I own. And I just love the spine and the back. I love the back. So anyway, that's probably one of the most beautiful books that I own and that I could think of right now. And then lastly, what do I need to read next? A whole lot of books. I'm not going to go over my goals for the year because it would be too long and I don't have time for that, but let me just summarize. I need to read a bunch of classics, at least 5 more, and I am reading one now, so then it'll be 4 more, and a whole bunch of books. And 2 more books that I did want to reread are The Merchant's Daughter by Melanie Dickerson. This is my favorite book that I've read by her. It is a Beauty and the Beast retelling, and I really wanted to reread it this year, so hoping I can reread that one. And then I've been wanting to reread this series. I read this when I was younger, and it is The Stars for a Light by Lynn Morris and Gilbert Morris. This is an older series that I loved when I was younger. It follows there's like 7 or 8 books in it, and it follows a female doctor in the latter 1800s, a little bit after the Civil War. And I really enjoyed this series when I was young, And so I really want to reread it because I want to just dig back into it and reread it and see what I think about it now. And so those are two that I would like to reread this year. But anyway, thank y'all for watching. I am so excited to get this video edited and posted. I had a lot of fun with it, and I hope the video is not too crazy. But anyway, thank y'all for watching again. Please, if you enjoyed this video, please like it and subscribe to my channel. It's really, I'm having a lot of fun with this, and I would love to have y'all subscribe if you enjoy the content that I'm putting out. But anyway, I would love to talk about books with y'all. Thank you for watching. Bye-bye.